Today, for your pleasure, I have an early set of Harold Bird woods and irons, the budget brand that many British golfers use for their first steps into the game. I want to try and keep the video in one part, so without further ado, as usual, it's broken down into a review of the clubs to be played, a look at Harold Bird and Son the company, followed by examples of their irons, and then out onto the course to test the reviewed set. Let's have a look at the woods first then, in the usual fashion. We can see that these are both persimmon woods. That might come as a bit of a surprise to people that are used to seeing Harold Bird and Son HB&S laminated clubs, but these are some of the earlier clubs that Harold Bird had produced. In fact, before his son joined, these are just Harold Bird. If we have a look at the top there, we can see the HB logo and the model name Thunderbird, which fits in nicely with Harold Bird, Thunderbird. On the sole we can see, we'll call it a double-headed eagle, and that was used quite often in the early days by Harold Bird. And again, we've got the HB mark there. Sometimes these are mistaken for woods by Hillerich and Bradsby, the American company, but these are definitely by Harold Bird, as we can see by the Thunderbird model. It's a persimmon block, as I say, a nice white, black, white insert, no shaft label, but a very old Avon Pro only grip, but a nice number 1 decal on the toe. I would say that these date to the early 1960s. And here we've got the 3 wood. Again, we've got HB and Thunderbird. On the sole plate of this one, we have the number. In fact, we've got it twice. And we've also got HB in a diamond logo. And again, we see this on some clubs that aren't obviously by Harold Bird, but this proves that they are. So HB, power balanced, it says there. Shaft have we got on this one? It's a True Temper 325, which refers to the length of the shaft from the bottom step there. Quite a cheap True Temper shaft, this one, and the grip is a swing right, grip right. So that's the 2 woods. Now, because of the weather at the moment and the fact that these really could do with a refinish, they're not the ones that I'm going to be playing, and I'll be just playing these 3, which are ones that I've featured before. Let me just move those over there so we can just have a very quick look at these. These are all 3 Harold Bird and Son. We can see the usual familiar sole plate there, HB&S 1, 3 and 5 woods. They're the 3 that I will be playing. Right, onto the irons then. In this set I have 3 to 9 and the wedge. Got here 3, 5, 7, 9 and the wedge. Now let's start off having a look at the 3 iron. Again, these are Harold Bird. We can see HB there, Thunderbird American model. As I say, I think these are early 1960s. I think that they're a cast head. If we have a look at the sole of the club, we can see number 3 and 2 stars there. Yellow paint fill, which matches the paint fill on American model and Thunderbird. Quite unusual to see that on the sole. Normally just black on the numbers and the sole writing. So that's the 3 iron. I'm now going to bring in the 4 iron. Although this is still HB Thunderbird, it is a slightly different model. If I put those together, we can see that the basic casting is very much the same, but we've got different lettering on there, different HB, and that's the only one in the set that's like that. So whether one was lost or whether the set was made up piecemeal, I don't know. Let me just put that one back there, and if we look at the shaft label on this one, we can see that it does say HB&S H Bird and Son. So that's further proof that this is indeed a Harold Bird. The lofts on these are a proper mismatch. They're a real example of what you can find buying second-hand clubs that are over 50 years old. But I have put a sand iron in the bag just to give me a bit more option. I've just pulled one at random here, and this is a Slazenger Curtis Cup, Blue Ferrule. Curtis Cup was a ladies tournament, so this is obviously a ladies club, particularly with the Blue Ferrule. So that's my sand iron for when I go out on the course with these clubs. I said that the lofts were amongst the worst that I've got in any of my sets. The grips are pretty terrible too. It would have been nice if I could feature a Harold Bird and Son putter, but unfortunately I don't have one. I've got a similar level of manufacturer, Bronte Golf. Bronte made lots and lots of putters. Harold Bird and Son, they seem to have been much less prolific in their putter designs. So we've got this one. I have featured it before. It's the Bronte Silver Knight, as we can see there. Right, that's the clubs then. Let's have a look at the history of Harold Bird and Son, which, like last time I tried to approach it, I think is going to be a bit of a frustrating attempt because it's very hard to find anything about Harold Bird and Son. The first on-course video I made featured a set of Harold Bird and Son Max Faulkner Avenger irons from the 1970s. In that video, I tried to give some background to the company, but wasn't able to find very much about them at all. It's almost 2 years since I made that video. How time flies. And once again I find myself frustrated by the lack of information out there about HB&S. I still have the same bare facts that I had in that earlier video as shown here, but I do wonder if the original company might have been a golf ball manufacturing business, as there were several of those in the Birmingham and West Midlands area at the time, and I've seen very few clubs, well no clubs in fact, from before the war featuring the Harold Bird name. Whether or not they're always at the same address I don't know, but from around the 1960s their address is given as Northgate in Aldridge in the centre of Britain. Considering the number of their clubs that crop up on eBay, they must have been a fairly substantial business, but I can't find one advert from them in golf magazines. I found their clubs listed in small ads from large retail outlets, such as shown here from 1988 for the Thunderbird SDL. That's not the same Thunderbird model I've just reviewed, but a later model. And this one from 1989 for the Pinseeker Tour model, even with a line drawing. But no adverts actually from HB&S. The only advert with a picture I've seen is this one by Ankerton Limited, who put HB&S clubs into their new breed of trolley, the Club Guard. This advert dates to 1973, and we can see a set of Max Faulkner Avenger woods and irons safely stowed away. I have found one fascinating claim to fame for Harold Bird and Son though, and that was that their clubs were used by Maurice Flitcroft in his first attempt at the Open qualifying at Formby in 1976. That's the same Maurice Flitcroft about whom a film was recently made detailing his extraordinary attempt to play in the Open Championship. According to the account of Jim Howard, one of his playing partners on that day, Maurice had a set of Harold Bird golf clubs, which were catalogue clubs. His mother had brought these for him, and there were 15 of them in his bag. His caddy had to take one back to the pro shop, so that Maurice had the regulation 14. The reference to catalogue clubs got me thinking, and a quick internet search of the Argos catalogues of that time brought up this section on golf equipment. 3 sets of Harold Bird and Son golf clubs appear. Clubs 9 and 10 are the Max Faulkner Avenger model, 13 and 14 are the Pinseeker model, and 17 and 18 are the Max Faulkner Deluxe model, which got me wondering if there were any pictures from the Formby qualifying showing Maurice's clubs. Another internet search turned up this picture of Maurice practicing, and zooming in, that looks very much like the reverse muscleback design of the Max Faulkner Avenger. Well, I'm happy now that I've added at least one small detail to the original video on HB&S, and that I made 2 years ago. So now let's take a look at the irons that they made. I believe that this is the earliest iron I've found, from when the company was playing Harold Bird, and it's a pretty blatant copy of the McGregor M85 released in 1950, right down to the B in the inverted pyramid, mimicking the MT used by McGregor. So I guess that this club dates to the mid-1950s. And see also the double eagle appearing on the sole. Next we have 2 more clubs from the Harold Bird era, and these are the 2 versions of the Thunderbird as reviewed earlier in the video. 1960s I'd guess. Also with the Thunderbird name were the Thunderbird SDL as previously mentioned, and the Thunderbird International as seen on the right. A bit of a coup for Harold Bird and Son was when Max Faulkner joined them. He'd already had spells with John Letters and Pirrie, but his name appeared on several Harold Bird and Son clubs. This is the first, probably late 1960s. And here, along with the deluxe model, are the Pinseeker model, the Avenger model as featured in my third video, both dating to around 1970, and the Avenger Classic with Faulkner's name on the sole, mid-1970s maybe. This is an unusual club, and at first I thought it was an Australian club, but then noticed the HB lozenge on the sole for Harold Bird. Where it gets its influence from, I'm not sure. The raised bar on the back has echoes of Spalding, but the power balanced with the micrometer logo appears on an East Brothers club from Australia, and then the three flags on the toe are similar to the twin flags used by Wilson. A proper mystery, and I've only seen a picture of this one example. Now on to the Pinseeker, HB&S's most used club name. We start with these four blade examples. The first and third are quite common, but the other two show up far less frequently. I do like the look of the International. In the 1980s, design switched to cavity backs, and the three similar examples are shown here: the Tour model, the Peripheral Weighting International, and the Pro Mark II. Some odd ones now. The first is the same as the Faulkner Avenger Classic already shown, but without the name. Then two Jaguar models. The first is just a renamed Pinseeker, and the third is a renamed Pinseeker of another style. HB&S had a knack of using the same club head and giving it a different model name. Finally we get to the end of the line, and by now all clubs were imported from Asia. Here we have three HBS Aldridge clubs. The first two have a world map emblem and a stamped World Tour. I assume that the one with the pink paint fill is a ladies' model. The third has rather bizarrely a bearded man's profile, looking like some Greek philosopher. On the bottom line are four more Pinseeker variants: the Plus, the Power Plus, the custom-made Oversize, and last of all the Oversize. The last two had voodoo graphite shafts, which I think identifies them as being from the time of Harold Bird Golf under Robin and Sandra Chapman. Pinseeker was also a brand name used by an American company, just to add to the confusion. Time to get out onto the course now then and test the clubs out. I'll be playing a bogey match as usual against the course over 6 holes. And here are the lofts of the clubs which I mentioned earlier. I said that they were a bit all over the place. My preferred lofts are a 24-degree 3-iron and then 4-degree steps to a 52-degree pitching wedge. Here we can see 3 and 4 are perfect, but then the 5-iron is exactly the same as the 4-iron at 28 degrees. Things start to get back on track then, but the 7, 8 and 9 irons only have 2-degree gaps between them, with the 9-iron being 42 instead of my preferred 48. The trials and tribulations of buying used clubs. A 6-hole match against the course then using the bogey format, so I'll get shots on 5 of the 6 holes. Very windy today, so the on-course microphone is turned right down and I'll be doing it all by voiceover. So, driver, not the best hit, and it finished in the left-hand rough. And from there I tried to hit a 5-iron but barely managed to get it out, and still in the left-hand rough from where I hit my 5-wood. This one I did hit well, if a little low, and it ran all the way down to the green. Left me on the green and 2 putts for a bogey net par, which would give me a half on the hole, which I'd be very happy with on this tricky hole. Decent enough first putt and an easy finish to give me the half. Next hole then, there's a lot of wear around the tee boxes, so I'm not taking my trolley on, which my camera's attached to, because I don't want to incur the wrath of the greenkeepers, so there'll be a few side shots from the tee. Hit this one well though, and it went 210 yards, that was my driver. And it left me here, and I had, what did I hit here? Well, I don't know what it was, but I shanked it. It's got in my head a bit, this hole. The second shot, I shank it so often. And I finished up on the bank here, really deep, and I just dug the ball out. You can see I managed no follow through at all, but the result was good, and it finished on the green. So again, this is a shot hole, and I've got this putt to win. Just didn't quite drop though. But that's an easy tapping 5 for a net par and another half. Par 3. Again, it's a side shot, so no shot tracer. I played the 7-iron, but I didn't catch it at all. It was into the wind and it came up a long way short. Left me my first chance to see how my short game is today. Pitching over a bunker to a front flag. The stuff of nightmares. But miraculously, although it wasn't a pretty swing, I managed to get that on the green. And short of the flag, in fact. Or level with it, should I say. They give me a putt for a win again, but I just wasn't bold enough with that one and left it short. Easy finish though, and that's another half. On to the next one. I've got the trolley at the side of the tee box here, so hopefully the shot trace will pick this up. 3-iron. And it did, which I was pleased about because I hit that one well. Went 194 yards. Left me 150, and I hit a 6-iron. I hit that well as well, but just pulled it. And look where I ended up. Wrong side of the bunker again. Can I get 2 in a row? I obviously quit on that one, but even then it almost made it over the bunker, but it's finished in. Let's see what I can do from here. Splashed it out pretty well. Gives me a chance. So this is for the half. Yeah, it drops. So that's a bogey, net par, halved hole. Onto the par 5/8. Hit driver, not very well, and it only goes 168 yards. And from there I take my 3-wood. Very low, but it does have some distance on it, and it takes me to within 150 yards of the green. And I opt for the 5-iron, slightly into the wind. And I think this is my best shot of the day. Pitch is on the green, stops quickly, and you can see there where the pitch mark was. It leaves me this one for a birdie. No shot on this hole. Not quite enough pace. I don't think it was on line either, but that's a very simple tap-in par for the half. So final hole, shot hole again, and I'm hitting my driver. I catch it pretty well. It goes 205 yards. It leaves me 162 out, and I go for the 4-iron. I just fade this one a little bit, lose some distance, and it comes up short of the green. A good golfer would chip this. Putter for me. Luckily this is in a bit of a hollow, so the wind noise wasn't too bad. There we go. Well, chipping isn't always the best choice. I'd normally have some exciting music at this point, but this is such a formality that it doesn't seem worth it. So this is for par, net birdie and the win. Well, I feel I've played some pretty poor golf, but somehow I've managed to win the match 1-up. What can you say? Yeah, looking back at my card, I actually scored pretty consistently, making net pars on all holes except the last where I got a net birdie. So I finished 1 under my handicap for those 6 holes. Quite pleased with that. The clubs played pretty well considering the range of lofts that were in there. I had to choose carefully and make sure that I was checking what the actual lofts were. The Harold Bird and Son laminated woods, as ever, played very well. The putter, I wasn't 100% confident over it, but it seemed to be doing the job pretty well. So there we are. That's another one finished. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.